events. In fact, we have done so 4 other times when we've hosted 4 World Cups. But it's an opportunity for us to show the world our brand of cricket. And by the end of this tournament, the world will agree with us that cricket should be only hosted in the West Indies. Now, through the collaboration with the government, the private sector, and the support from our people in the West Indies, we will accomplish this by putting out an event that we can be proud of. And we will do this by having a world-class facility and an amazing match day experience. But it's also important for us to understand that beyond the field, we need to entertain our fans and our spectators who will be there watching this tournament in the West Indies. So our non-match day experience is equally important. And through our partnerships with the host countries, we will show the world our diverse and unique Caribbean people, our food, our music, our landmarks, our rainforests, and our beaches. Now, I'm going to take you through what are the match day experience for this World Cup. Now, for the ICC matches, at the beginning of every game, they play the anthem ceremonies for the teams that will be playing the matches. We will have, instead of the anthems being played by a pre-recorded song, we will have our steel plans play the anthem ceremony for each of the teams that will be there on match day. We will have our dancers and our cheerleaders. We will have pyrotechnics, coal sparks, CO2s for the venues. For venues that have LED towers, such as Barbados, St. Vincent, and St. Lucia, we will put on LED light shows. We will have drone shows. We will have our cultural characters and musical instruments. And we will have, of course, our DJs who will play music throughout the whole tournament in a 360 degrees surround sound immersive experience. And of course, we will have our party stand, which is unique for us in the West Indies. Now, as I said before, what happens on the match day is only one part of the tournament experience. We will look at what's going to happen beyond the boundary, and those are what we're going to plan for the non-match days. Now, to spread the word, we're going to employ some tournament ambassadors, which includes our cricket legends and other legends in the sport, such as Sir Curtly Ambrose, Sir Vivian Richards, Sir Andy Roberts, and even Usain Bolt, who has come on board as the official tournament ambassador for this tournament. We kicked things off by doing a trophy tour, which started in the USA, with our very own Chris Gayle pulling the switch, lighting the towers at the Empire State Building. We moved on to Jamaica, where the trophy was taken to the Bob Marley Museum and was featured by Usain Bolt. We moved on to Barbados, where we had a street parades through Bridgetown, then moved on to Antigua and Barbuda, where we had a similar parade through St. John's. The trophy then moved on to St. Lucia, where our own Darren Sammy took the trophy around the island. And also, part of the experience for the tournament too is making sure that everyone can feel part of any match, regardless of where they are. So matches that are not being played in the country will be shown at fan parks across all the 6 host countries in the West Indies. And at the fan parks, you'll be able to watch all the matches live, experience the food for the West Indies and from that particular country. We will have children activities, we'll have concerts and shows, games, tournament activation, and we'll have legends and guests make appearances. And this will be in every host country for this tournament. On March 2nd, we will launch the tournament song featuring Sean Paul and Kes. And again, we have more activities planned, such as golf days with legends, helicopter tours, bus tours, beach cricket, bus crawls, community and school programs, street parades, and a whole lot more. What I want to share with you now is what the final bit of work that's going in to make sure that we have world-class facilities for this tournament. One of the things we focus a lot on is ensuring that the pitch and outfield preparation meet the expectations for this tournament and for the players who will be here. Now, every single match venue and practice venue did renovations to all the pitch and outfield. And for this tournament, every single one of them will have grass and a playing condition that will meet and surpass the expectations of the players. Now at Sir Vivian Richards, we're doing the final steps to redo the playing dressing rooms. At Arnoldsville Stadium, we're putting in the LED towers right now and setting up a new party stand area. There's a lot of work being done at Darusami Cricket Stadium. They're finishing off the roofing, and they have just renovated the pitch and outfield at the practice areas. At the Guyana National Stadium, we're redoing the dressing room right now and doing works in the One Guyana stand. At the Brian Lara Cricket Academy, they've installed 2,000 additional seating. They're doing some renovations to the dressing room, and they're finishing off, putting in the replay screen. At Kensington Oval, we're building a triple-decker hospitality area. We're putting in an additional 3,000 seats, and we're putting in LED lights to replace the old ones. Also in Barbados, we're going to establish for the first time a media hub. Now, with 9 venues being hosted across this tournament, which includes the USA as well, it's difficult for the media to travel to each one of the venues. So we have done it for the first time ever, established a media hub where all the media, well, those who wish to participate, can go to this media facility in Barbados and be part of the match. Through this media hub, they will be able to participate in the post-match presentation and feel like they're connected to the match at any venue across the tournament. Now, so far, I just want to give you an update on ticket sales. We have sold 80,000 tickets in the West Indies, which accounts for about 30% of the ticket sales so far. On May 2nd, we will open box offices in all the host countries. We are making available a minimum of 2,000 tickets for each one of the match venue, and we're guaranteed that every person in each island and each country will be able to purchase tickets for any of the matches. And lastly, I just want to talk about the warm-up matches that will be played in Trinidad and Tobago. While May 1 is the start of the tournament, teams will arrive on May 21st for the first warm-up matches. 9 teams will be here in Trinidad and Tobago playing 8 matches across the Queen's Park Oval and the Brian Lara Cricket Academy. And lastly, I want to thank the governments of the West Indies for their continued participation and continued support of West Indies cricket. To run this tournament is a mammoth task, and it's not a singular effort that Cricket West Indies can do on its own. And without the partnership of the governments of the region, we will not be able to pull off this tournament. I also want to say before I close, and I want to continue from what my colleague Shilita Rose said, I want to see everybody here everyone in Guyana on May 2nd when West Indies play the first match. I want us to follow the tournament until May 29th when the West Indies play for the trophy. Or June 29th, my apologies, when West Indies play for the trophy, and we have declared them champions of the ICC Men's T20 World Cup. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Did very well on time. Thank you very much once again to Fawaz Baksh, World Cup Tournament Director, for giving us the spicy details that we should look forward to. I'll invite Mr. Johnny Grave on stage, our CEO CWI, to share the stage with Fawaz. And moderating for this conversation is Chalita Rose, who is the head of marketing of the ICC T20 World Cup. Chalita, you're welcome to join us on stage for this. Ah, there you go. All mic. Okay, so you'll be using the podium, and we'll facilitate a few questions, a few thoughts, and a few answers in response. All yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon once again. Floor is now open for questions. I can imagine that the room may want to ask some pertinent information for CEO and Tournament Director Fawaz Baksh. Do we have any questions? Silence is golden. Well, I'll probably just start off with you, Johnny. Could you just give a bit of update as to where we are from Cricket West Indies in terms of welcoming the teams to the support period and moving into June 2nd when the first ball is bowled in Guyana?
Yeah, firstly, let me personally thank the Honourable Prime Minister Rowley and the Honourable Minister Ransom for their personal support of not just this World Cup, but also the Cricket World Cup that we hosted successfully in 2022 when the Under-19 tournament came here. I think everyone needs to understand that hosting these global events is a huge honor and opportunity, and one that doesn't come around very often. And without the unwavering support of the governments of the region, we simply couldn't do it. And the welcome that the teams will get, the support that we get from the governments and all the various ministries is unprecedented from a global perspective. And I think we should all be very proud when we host these tournaments because we reinforce the brand of West Indies, and that brand is that there's nowhere better to play, nowhere better to watch cricket than here in the Caribbean. In terms of the West Indies preparation, the team are going to be announced next week. We're picking our squad of 15 players, and I'm sure there will be lots of news and stories coming out of that, as there always are. That squad won't convene in full until we get to Jamaica at the end of this month, of May. There is going to be a training camp for those that are not taking part of the Indian Premier League that's going to happen in Antigua on May the 12th. We're going to have a week-long preparation camp before heading to Jamaica to play 3 T20s against South Africa. We're then going to leave Jamaica and come here to Trinidad and Tobago for a week's preparation, including playing at the historic Queen's Park Oval on Thursday, the 30th of May, in an evening fixture against the one of the tournament favourites, Australia. So that will be probably one of the only games in the warm-up schedule that will be ticketed. And we certainly hope that the fans here in Trinidad, and particularly those in Port of Spain, will come out and rally behind the West Indies in that warm-up match, which is the final game that we'll play before we head to Guyana ahead of the opening game on June the 2nd. There are a number of teams coming into the region warming up in St. Vincent, St. Kitts and other countries, which again is great to see. And I think everyone is looking forward to the first match in Dallas on the 1st of June, and for the West Indies perspective, making sure that we have a huge party in Georgetown and get off to a winning start, because we all know that these global tournaments, confidence and momentum is important, and we can think of nothing better than starting with a victory in Guyana and as Fawaz said, ending it in Barbados on the 29th of June with a similar victory.
Thank you, CEO. Just going to turn again for one last chance for any questions from, and I'm seeing no questions. On this note, I personally want to thank the governments, the LOCs, and also the territorial boards and everyone who's playing a part. I think for us it's very important that we get ready for June 2nd when the first ball is bowled, but there's a huge responsibility on us to ensure that we can host world events and that the stadiums are full. So I just want to say welcome you guys to Guyana, and we look forward to hosting the ICC Men's T20 World Cup. Thank you all.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Chalita, for facilitating, and to both Fawaz and Johnny for the context. Well, a birdie whispered to me, I don't know where they got this information from, that there was a movie coming up after lunch today. Didn't know that we had a movie on cricket right now for today's presentation, but I do know that the President of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana made an effort to ensure that he could provide a full context to his thoughts and feelings as the chair of CARICOM, and of course to support the hosting of this symposium in Port of Spain, which was so graciously offered by the Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. Rowley. Time would not have allowed us to adjust the way that the schedule was planned for yesterday, given the length of the presentation, but it was an item that, having shared it with the heads, is now possible for us to share with all who are present and those who are viewing online. So without further ado, you can call it the movie from Guyana, but ladies and gentlemen, will you please take a moment to listen in and receive the perspective from the President of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, His Excellency Irfan Muhammad Ali. Let's watch.
I want to take this opportunity to present our thoughts and perspective from Guyana on the cricketing ecosystem in the region and how we can navigate the present challenges, look at the opportunities, and build a cricketing product and a cricketing ecosystem that will allow cricket to continue to grow in the West Indies and to reposition cricket and what it means and what story cricket tells in the West Indies itself. Now, there are many perspectives that I wish to use to demonstrate the different facets of the cricketing ecosystem that we are talking about today. Now, cricket has changed over the years. The product has changed drastically, and we have to examine critically whether we have adopted enough to meet not where it is today, but to meet the requirements and craft the framework that will allow us to grow with where cricket will be in the next 10 years, 20 years, and 30 years from now. So in examining the ecosystem, I sought to use a cricketing diagram to analyze the different facets of the ecosystem. For example, we have a storm here, rainstorm, and we know that rainstorm can end the game. It can disappoint fans, it can disappoint players, and it can bring an abrupt end to what the game represents. Then we have the sunshine here. We know sunshine is associated with cricket. Sunshine means that you'll have a good day of play. Sunshine means that cricket will play, cricket will survive. And then we have, of course, the outfield and the pitch. If you notice on the pitch, we have the bouncers. How do we navigate the bounce of the pitch and what constitutes the bounce of the pitch? And then how do we evade the spin? So there will be spins, spinning wicket, bouncing wicket. So how do we, and what constitutes the spin of the wicket? And then defending the wicket. What is needed to defend the wicket to protect cricket? To protect and ensure that our cricketing architecture, our cricketing ecosystem, our cricketing infrastructure that we are building will support the survival and sustainability of cricket. Now, in looking at the ecosystem, you will see here, the storm requires the covers. If you have covers, you have some possibility of play after the storm. If you have covers before the storm, there's greater possibility of play in the game. So how do we redefine the ecosystem of Cricket West Indies? And what is it that we have to cover and protect? The brand. And I will come to that aspect of the presentation. But if we can first start with exactly what we are looking at, that is the ecosystem of Cricket West Indies brand. We cannot build anything if we don't have a critical understanding of what our brand represents, and if we together as a community do not understand the commonality of our brand. Now, Cricket West Indies is different from India, Australia, because Cricket West Indies bring together a number of islands and countries, different culture, different environment, different style, under one banner, that is West Indies cricket. So our brand represents the unification. It's a brand of unification. It's a brand of celebration. It's a brand that has been built on struggle. Cricket in the West Indies has a deep cultural, societal, and political rooting, and we cannot avoid that. That is what defined our brand in the past. So now, as we look at the challenges in the future, we have to now redefine this brand. What are we known for now? Well, we were known for before as a very fierce, fast bowling team, a very attractive, stylish, attacking batsmen. We were known to be passionate about the game. We were known to be, our players were known to be no-nonsense people. We were known to represent a segment of the global population, and we were known to be a team that was united in what we wanted to do. So our brand was one that supported fast bowling. So as a result of what we were known for, the rest of the cricketing world wanted to ensure that our brand did not succeed. So what they did, they changed the rules of the game against attacking fast bowling, the number of bouncers you could bowl in an over. So that we did not see it as attacking our brand. But in effect, what that did is that it attacked our brand. How do we ensure that our brand is separate and apart from the rest of what the cricketing world has in it now? So how do we create an environment in which our brand is a fast bowling brand, in which our brand delivers the fastest wicket in the world, in which our brand delivers the fastest bowlers in the world, the most fearsome fast bowling in the world? How do we get our brand to position itself in that? That requires a redefinition of the academy and what our academy support. It requires us to re-examine our pitches. It requires us to retrain our curators. So if we want that to be the brand, then what else constitutes this brand? Because if we can't present a holistic brand, then we will not be able to differentiate our product. And our product is not about playing cricket. Cricket in the West Indies is beyond cricket, as it is in any other country. It affects a number of other areas. It's developing the business model. So what is our brand that is different? We are known to be an entertaining brand, a brand in which we have celebration, partying, a brand that is linked to tourism, a brand that is linked to enjoying life. It's a brand that is linked to freedom. It's a brand that is linked to free expression. For example, now we have the carnival cricket. So if that is the brand, how do we redesign our stadiums to celebrate the brand? For example, we have the party mound, the party stand. But what about the sun, sand, and sea stand? We see around the world where people are now trying to enter the business of cricket. They're creating these brands. So what about a stand that celebrates sun, sand, and sea? A stand that celebrates our credentials on climate change. An eco stand, where you can enjoy cricket in an eco-friendly facility. Those are things that can add to the value of our brand and help us to separate our brand from the rest of brand. So tourists, they come to the West Indies for sun, sand, and sea. They come for ecotourism. They come for the freshness of our product. They come for the party. They come for the music. They come for the food. They come for the culture. That has to be a major component of what constitutes Cricket West Indies brand. Then how do we recreate ourselves? How do we ensure that in building out this brand, we recreate ourselves? That speaks about the type of infrastructure we'll build, this type of academy we'll build to support what we want to be known for, the type of pitches, the type of holistic planning for cricket matches. What type of cricket are we going after? Where we want to position our brand. How can we position that brand? What product exists in the market that we can build on? These are some of the questions that we have to answer in this recreation of brand. Importantly, though, is the question that we always ask ourselves. The fans in the West Indies are passionate about West Indies cricket, but who owns the brand? We see many times the players demonstrate no ownership of the brand. The first chance they get to earn a greater revenue, they will go to that chance. They don't see the passion to play one-day cricket, test cricket for the West Indies. So who owns this brand? How do we create ownership? How do we build ownership in the brand? How do we get back that attachment to the brand and demonstrate in an institutional way ownership to this Cricket West Indies brand. Whether we create a West Indies bond so that we can invest in West Indies cricket, so that we allow the ordinary West Indian a chance to buy into this brand, to own this brand. So as West Indies cricket grow, investors grow, investment grow. And we cannot avoid looking at this question in the entire ecosystem surrounding new modern day cricket. So then we have to look at publicizing the redefined brand, getting ownership and involvement in the redefined brand. Then we have to look at how we protect the brand. Because competition is, once you create this brand, someone will compete against the brand. How do we protect the brand? We have to protect the brand by performance, by investment, by governance. Protect the brand by expansion. Protect the brand by involvement. Protect the brand by expansion of the product itself. And then how do we position the brand? Where do we want to position the brand? Now, this is very important because Cricket West Indies brand can be easily taken away from us by the North American brand now. Cricket in the USA. We have already seen in this ICC World Cup that most of the good matches are going to the more profitable venue. This is a direct threat to the brand. So how are we going to protect this brand? How are we going to expand this brand? I will deal with that a bit later, because we now have to expand Cricket West Indies into Cricket Americas. That now allows us to control and to define our brand beyond the West Indies in an effort to protect our brand and Cricket West Indies. And where do we position the brand? Are we positioning the brand for the West Indies alone? Yes. We own the brand in the West Indies. But what does the brand seek to attract? Who does the brand seek to attract? Where do we market the brand? Where do we position the brand? Where do we want the brand to make the greatest impact? And you just have to look at the viewership and where the money follows the viewership, the money follows the commercialization of cricket. And then we have to create, and this will allow us to create the global ownership. We cannot, we don't have the numbers like other destinations. So how do we bring the international framework, the international ecosystem to ensure that we create global ownership for what we want to build? And why is this important? We see that sports around the world is moving to more towards franchise sporting, whether it's football, cricket now, we see the UAE, we see Saudi Arabia. All of these countries are trying to get into cricket. We see the franchise cricket in T20 in all the countries, and that is taking off. And as franchise cricket grow, less and less bilateral series are being played. So unless players are making themselves available continuously for a bilateral series, they may make themselves available for the World Cup, a test match, the World Cup in T20, the World Cup in one day. But on a continuous basis, the challenge comes. So this is addressing the brand, the questions surrounding the brand, and how do we redefine and redevelop the brand. Now, if we go now to look at some of the threats to this creation of the brand and threat to West Indies cricket now, we have loss of talent to IPL and other international leagues. We see that our main players, our players who can attract fans, our players who can bring excitement, they prefer to play for IPL and other international leagues than West Indies. Of course, this is a result of getting more revenue. This is a result of their own security, life security, economic security, financial security, and we cannot fault the players. But we have to look at this as a threat and plan to see how we can mitigate against this threat. Limited financing. We all know that the financing at the West Indies cricket is not anywhere close to where it should be. We know that the gates have reduced substantially. We know that we went for years without sponsorship, even for the West Indies team. We know that financing in cricket has reduced even at the government levels and state level, so that's a threat. Inadequate facilities and poor governance. Now, limited financing put us at the mercy of other financially viable boards. For example, the Indian Cricket Board, call the shots. And we have to face the reality. So financing is an important aspect. Inadequate facilities and poor governance. Our facilities, we have not added new facility. We have not improved upon the facility. We have not improved upon the governance of cricket, both at Cricket West Indies. Every year, we have months of battle and turmoil within the administration of cricket itself. And that does not allow for the growth and development of cricket. Then we have the extra-regional threats, the growth of cricket in North America, where more revenue can be earned, that directly threaten how many matches will come to us, directly threaten what we will be capable of doing. Because if North America, in the extra-regional cricket equation, decide to develop a league by themselves that will now attract our players, whilst we do nothing to expand our league or build a league system, then it will be not an immediate threat, but a full threat to West Indies cricket. And then we have the declining performance level. We saw what one performance recently by Shamar Joseph did for the entire West Indies. But that tells the story. The story is that our performance has been so lukewarm that one spark allowed us as a region to ignite our interest. Imagine if we can address in a more holistic way, in a more structural way, the low level of performance or the declining level of performance in regional cricket. And we only have to look at, and this has nothing to do with the quality of players. This has to do with the entire ecosystem. That's why I'm speaking about ecosystem here. It has to do about club cricket, from club cricket, school cricket, grassroots cricket. All of those are input factors as to why we have this level of threat. But it is not only about threat. There are opportunities ahead of us. We know that we have talent. If you look at the IPL, some of the most exciting players in the IPL that brings viewership to the IPL are West Indians. We have opportunity with that. So we have these talent. How do we harness the talent? How do we identify the talent? How do we develop the talent? How do we grow the talent? How do we secure the talent? How do we sustain the talent? And how do we finance the talent? Now we have the legends in history. We have enough cricketing legends in the repository to call upon, to bring their expertise, to support the recreation of the brand, to help to redefine the brand, and to use this legendary status, this historical legendary status, to reposition West Indies cricket. So, opportunities again. We already, before I go to CPL and WPL, we have a story and a culture. Who tells the West Indian cricketing story? How do we infuse, once again, our strong cultural heritage into West Indies cricket? Because our cultural heritage and our cultural aspects in the region are important ingredient in building, defining, and refining our brand, separated apart from others. So the story of our cricket, the culture, integrating the music, integrating the dance, integrating the party, integrating the carnival, integrating the sun, sand, and sea, integrating the ecotourism, integrating the freshness of the islands, freshness of the countries. How do we do all of that? That is a low-hanging opportunity for us. Then the CPL and WPL. Well, WPL talk about separately. The CPL is the Caribbean Premier League. Let's make no mistake. This is an opportunity for us. How do we ensure that we work with the organizers of CPL? We work with the West Indies Cricket Board in building CPL, making CPL more powerful, giving CPL the legs and wings to expand and fly, giving CPL the political, social, societal backing, the economic backing. This is already a product that we can build off, that we can refine and reshape. This is a product that proves to us that cricket has a viable future in the region. But how do we build this product into something, as I said, that is global, that create global ownership? Well, we have already done that, because Guyana is launching a product after the CPL to support West Indies cricket. So with the West Indies Cricket Board, with CPL, with all global stakeholders, we are launching the World Premier League. The World Premier League builds off of what used to be the Champions League, where the best team from each league come together to play for their best team in the world, the best league team in the world. So the World Premier League would be an output out of the CPL that fits into the objective of creating global ownership and global brand. So here is it, an opportunity now to embrace the development of a world product, a global product that would help us to keep our talent, that would help us to finance in a greater way our talent, that would help us to give more opportunities to our talent. So we now have the World Premier League and the CPL acting hand in hand. Government commitment. Just like food security, we have to get government investment in redoing our pitches, in building out community facility, in enhancing community facility, investing in school cricket, investing in secondary school cricket, and redefining that whole cricketing landscape. Building and supporting all these opportunities here so that we can build back the entire ecosystem and reposition our brand. We also have opportunity and from this cricketing symposium, we see that there is government commitment. Because the region is making a commitment that cricket is important to us. The region is making a commitment that we are ready to support initiatives that would secure this cricketing ecosystem. Inherent passion. Our fans are passionate. Our fans are different from any other fan in the world. Our fans bring a different level of energy. Our fans can allow us to showcase and bring global fans that want to experience what they demonstrate. But first, we have to give our fans the capability of showcasing something that is different, that attracts the outsider, that they want to experience that. Many people want to experience go and sit in lodges and have your tea and clap. But the vast majority of young people want to experience that passion of West Indies cricket. And that inherent passion is a great opportunity that we have to build on. Technology and smart stadium. This is about the fans' experience. Today, you have different levels of fans. You have fans who want a personalized service. Not all the fans want to walk down the stadium and go and buy food. How are we personalizing the experience? How are you using technology and smart stadium, the lighting, the feel in the stand? All of this must change. This is where cricket is going. That adds to the experience. Cricket is not only about what is on the field now. It is about the experience. What is the experience you get when you go there? What young people want to get? Lighting, technology, personalized services. All of those things are part of technology and smart stadium. All of that has to be addressed in the cricketing symposium and the cricketing ecosystem. Now, how do we evade the spin? And what is the spin? What is it that we're seeing that we have to plan to avoid? The loss of fans. We are losing fans. West Indies cricket has lost a lot of fans. We have lost fans, we have lost sponsorship to the extent that we did not have a brand sponsor. Loss of ownership. A lot of people today, I tired with them boys, man. I tired with West Indies cricket now. Look, just turn off the television. Why go in and watch regional cricket? For waste time? That is the expression of the people. So loss of ownership. We don't associate with this brand. Lack of talent. Whilst we're producing some exceptional talent, we are not nurturing the talent. So if you look at Australia, India, South Africa, well, England to some extent, South Africa, they can produce 2 or 3 World Cup teams. Just like soccer, football, Brazil can produce 3, 4 World Cup teams. We're struggling to produce 1 competitive World Cup team. So lack of talent, because we have not invested in the development of talent. Lack of responsibility. And this is from the administrators, and this is from the players. No one is taking responsibility. When I say responsibility, it comes from ownership. So you have players who have the luxury of saying, I'm not playing this tournament, I'm going to play IPL. Who takes the responsibility for the fans? If you have a West Indies team playing Australia, and 5 of your best players are playing franchise cricket, how does that affect your fans? Who takes the responsibility of the effect that would have on your fans, on your brand, on your ownership? And all of this, of course, can lead to reduced fan base. So this is a spin in the wicket that we have to plan for. This is a spin in the wicket that we have to address. Otherwise, all of us will be carved out with the iron ball. So this is what we have to address in the spin in the wicket. And of course, how do we navigate the bounce? Bouncers are dangerous. The lack of investment. The divisive product. We have a product that can be divisive in nature. Man saying, man, look, these 3 good Vincentian men make the team. The whole team is Guyanese, the whole team is Bajans, the whole team is Jamaican. We can only address that if we bring back credibility, openness, transparency, accountability, and a system of selection that is equitable. Not some people must pass a fitness test and some people are exempt. The rules must be strong and applicable across the board. The governance must be strong and applicable across the board. So we have to address the issue of divisive, the product being divisive, lack of investment, failed government mechanism. And it's not only the governance at the board level, it's governance mechanism at the country level. How is our ministries organized? Our investment in sport development organized to address some of the inherent problems that we're talking about? Weak institutional support and market dynamics. These are some of the immediate bunks. Understanding the market dynamics and building and addressing our product and ecosystem to meet the market dynamics if we want to survive. And if we want to survive and defend the wicket and play in the wicket to protect the wicket, because at the end of the day, it's to protect our product. What do we have to do to protect this product, to defend this wicket? We have to invest. We have to create ownership. We have to legislate. We have to have a common legislation across all countries in the region. Same level of reform, governance reform, accelerated brand building. We have to have academics, secondary school facilities, finance, integrity, and regional branding. Those are things that we have to do immediately to defend the wicket, defend the brand, protect the brand, and build what we have. Now, beyond all of this is something called beyond the boundary. Because cricket is not only played on the field. I said earlier, we are addressing the ecosystem surrounding cricket in the West Indies to rebuild their brand, protect their brand, sustain their brand, and expand their brand. So what are the matters beyond the boundary that we have to bring into the cricket, bring into the brand, bring into the product, and invest in also the vibes? We have to have different vibes. The vibes, the culture, the entertainment, the food, the tourism, what we represent, the markets, investing in marketing, the branding, merchandising. We don't even have a single duty-free shop across the region that specializes in West Indies merchandising and branding. Can you imagine? And we have seen how merchandising and branding is critical. Just look at a CPL, a different level of branding and merchandising. Integrating other sports, yes. How do we use cricket and the platform of cricket to bring other sports discipline in it? Merge our sports. Our market is small, so we have to merge our interests, merge our opportunities, merge our sports. Societal integration. This is an important part of cricket. How does it contribute to positive living? Getting private sector and social investment into cricket to contribute to positive living, societal integration, community orientation, so that companies can budget to achieve these aspects of their social consciousness by investing in cricket. So this is basically addressing the totality of the cricketing ecosystem. The covers, as I said, is an important part. The wicket, protecting the wicket, the bouncer, the spin, good defense mechanism, beyond the boundary, the opportunities, the threats, all of this forms part of the cricketing ecosystem. So this is how we in Guyana are thinking. This is our presentation as we work towards building a West Indies brand that is strong, sustainable, reliable, resilient, competitive, profitable, and brings to us the joy of cricket as we know it. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the chairman of CARICOM and the president of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, His Excellency Mohammed Irfan Ali. Presentation well received. And here we are, just on time for the closing remarks. We've reached the point where I have the distinction of inviting to deliver the closing remarks for the last 2 days symposium, the CARICOM Prime Ministerial Chair of the Subcommittee on Cricket and Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. I please bid welcome the Honorable Keith Rowley.
Thank you very much, Wendell. And let me thank all of you, firstly, for coming, and secondly, for staying. But you've run the course, you've kept the faith, and a crown of dismissal is not ready for you. I won't keep you too long, but at this time, as we're coming to the close of what has been quite an exhilarating experience for me, and I hope for you, and a day or two where we can reflect on something that is more than a game. Because given the issues raised and the level of seriousness attached to it by very many participants in this symposium, one can only come to the conclusion that in the Caribbean, cricket is more than a game. And my colleague, President Ali, who just made that presentation, has gone into the deep dive of how far we can go with cricket if we stay with the promise of a game that we have been renowned to be great exponents of. But what I'll do for a few minutes, not too long, is just go through my notes that I took as the symposium progressed, touching on, just to identify for you as you leave here, what exactly did we deal with in this symposium? What came up? What are the issues we are required to go onto our homework with? Because, as I just said to a press conference outside, it is not my intention to wind up this symposium, go back to my office and wait to see what happens. It is my intention to prepare a summary of the proceedings, of the issues that were raised here, identifiable issues, and much of it raised by identifiable stakeholders, and take that summary to the next CARICOM meeting, where this subcommittee, which I chair, will have space on the agenda to discuss at the level of the governments gathered in St. George's and where we are with cricket. And before we get to Grenada, that meeting will take place in the first week of July. Sounds like a long way off, but a couple of days from now we're into May, so we really have 2 months between us and the meeting. And between now and then, I've got the agreement of President Kishore Shallow that he will take steps to ensure that the territorial bodies are apprised of what we've done here and what is available, and have them get into the discussion and the apprehension and preparation for what we are going to be dealing with respect to ideas for change, ideas for support, ideas for new vision, and so on, readying those levels of authority. And by the time we get to Grenada, we should have some kind of feedback as to how our efforts here are to be received outside of this room. So let me just mention, in no particular order, the main issues that surfaced during the very many presentations here, and which would form some part of that report that will go to CARICOM. One of the issues, which is at the top of my notes, is the whole question of governance in West Indies cricket and the role of elections or no elections. There's a view that the existing arrangement of the management of cricket in the West Indies being done after elections of dubious, sometimes, outcomes, but not satisfying the public demand for transparency and even accountability. And that would have contributed considerably to the loss of the fan base that President Ali mentioned. Because if your fans believe that you are not genuinely the best management arrangement, they will ascribe the negative outcomes to that. And the fans will then lose interest and want to leave you alone. We may not have to invent any wheel here, because one of the things we can't get away from is the fact that we have, I think it's 14 governments, or is it 13? Governments, territories, sovereign nations that make up West Indies cricket team. We are the only cricket team that is made up of a group of nations. So that automatically creates these separateness within the structure. But where that kind of system exists in the world, in other areas, you don't have elections to its leadership, because the divisiveness that is inherent, that President Ali mentioned there, is built into our pie. And the way they deal with it, as CARICOM does, because CARICOM itself manages this as CARICOM. CARICOM's leadership is not by election. It is by predictable rotation. The European Union is by predictable rotation. So you don't expose yourself to the shenanigans of shysters organizing an election, claiming ownership, and governing through lackeys. And I point my finger at no one here. My friend Kishore Noah, I'm not pointing my finger at him. He just come and he meet that. But that is part of the problem. And unless somebody can come up with a better solution, the existing arrangement is not going to improve our circumstance. So that is on the table. Prime Minister Motley, throughout the legal luminary that she is, the possibility of considering the creation of a regional shareholding body into which the entire region can claim ownership and have some kind of involvement in the ownership aspect of cricket, because later down in my notes, I have the question appearing again of who owns West Indies cricket? Because if you have an incorporated body wielding authority and discharging largesse, but that authority cannot tell you how they got ownership of the asset, we got a problem. Because somebody told us about 6 people going off to Tortola and incorporating a body, and I told you about going to a meeting as head of a CARICOM country to be lectured to and pissed upon by somebody who tells me, you just step aside. We are Cricket West Indies, Inc. And you might represent one country, but we represent the whole region. So what you do, look after the school program, and we will take care of the rest. I experienced that. So we have to settle that issue. And we are not the only region that had to settle that issue. Basra don't know. What happened in Pakistan? The Pakistanis had a worse situation, but they dealt with it. They dealt with it. We must deal with ours. I'm not putting out any solution, but I'm telling you that will remain a problem. And the more it becomes a financial challenge for the region and the more there are demands on national treasuries around the region, the more that issue will surface. So I move on from that. But there are possibilities, as Prime Minister Motley hinted or mentioned as she moved on. But the possibility of a corporate board might be something to consider. Go forward. A lot of call for government investment. But I think there's an acceptance that there's a big role for governments at the local level within the borders of governments, but also a role for governments outside of the border in taking part in supporting the regional game. Within the border, cricket, the game, is not just a game that people like to play. It is probably the most character-building exercise for young people. Young men in our region, we had a seminar right in this very hotel recently. And the seminar was a symposium on violence as a public health issue in the region, where we had to accept that our region is plagued by ever-increasing levels of violent conduct on our society. And one of the solutions advanced in that symposium is that the government should invest more in sport and let sport play the role that it can promise to play in bringing about a change in that cultural malaise. Violence as a public health issue. There are more people dying in Trinidad and Tobago from violent activity than from many well-known diseases. That's a fact. And encouraging young people now to play sport, especially a sport like cricket, as a character-building input, governments will do well to invest in that. So where you have boys' schools with no playing field and no sports master, and sport, including cricket, as a nuisance to academics, they miss the point. I can only speak like this, because when I went to school, the top students in academic proficiency were also the top students in sport and vice versa. So sport is not a nuisance. It's an integral part of, and we can learn from that. Talking about the good old days, maybe we can go back to that. But there was some element of compulsory participation. Nowadays, I have a grandson, he's 9 years old, Mr. iPad. Man, get him off the iPad. His 3-year-old brother is on that same track. It's a different world. But we know what worked. We know what worked. And the perfect environment is not the only place that success can be had. But at least if you've had the experience of success, at least you know what used to work. Somebody here spoke about being mentored, because mentoring was also raised here, the value of mentoring, and mentoring of the highest quality, using our legends as people who can inspire a generation. We've lost some of it, but we haven't lost all of it. So I think there was widespread agreement on the responsibility of the governments to ensure that there's a sound and improving quality in the primary school program, catching our youngsters early and getting them into a program and then moving forward. That mentoring opens the possibility for a large amount of volunteerism in the region. A campaign of volunteerism, those who can contribute and who want to contribute, either singularly or with groups. So programs in community development within the region would be advanced to CARICOM as something that the governments would want to buy into and invest in. We want to be able to compete in numbers, because I did start out yesterday morning by pointing out that we do have a small population of people from which to draw our cricket product. But that had never been a big problem for us, otherwise you wouldn't have been at the top of the world. But in today's world, it's a problem, because of the requirement to have more people produced at a faster rate. The canvas is much larger now. But Barbados had demonstrated that you could be very, very small, but you could take on the world and beat them at cricket if you're Barbados or if you're the West Indies. But we need to acknowledge that we need to play more cricket, have more people participate. It was Brian Lara, who spoke about the history of the game where cricket was the privileged class game, but he invited us to encourage our populations to take ownership of it and have more people participate in the game. That's how the game evolved. It went from being an exclusion, it was played exclusively by the upper class or the colonial master class, and then it became a game of the man in the street. He talks about that, reclaiming that ownership. But at the same time, we talk about being small numerically, not 50 million or 20 million nation. The many nations add up only to, 7 million? Because we don't count Haiti, because Haiti is not a cricket playing part of CARICOM. But as we do that, we do it with a brand that is bigger than many geographical entities. And that is why much of the discussion in the last 2 days acknowledged that we are a big brand in cricket. So we must try and extract from that big brand its fullest potential. And President Ali's details there did show how that can be done in some way. This whole idea, and I'm just going to mention, early in the proceedings yesterday, the whole question of reviewing the CPL contract was deliberately put on the table because it was so important. Not as an act of hostility, but as an act of reality. CPL is an integral part of West Indies cricket now. And now more than ever, it needs to be as transparent as possible. We had a presentation by the head of CPL today, and all of it was good. All of it was clear. There was no need to look at anything. That is his story. But the rest of us who have not studied it, who don't have our own interest to protect, we need to know that what was said there by CPL today is in fact the whole and the real story. Just to know. Because if we don't know, then we will assume it is not so. So we need to comfort the region that the involvement of the CPL owners are not inimical to our best interests. And once that is done, then the Guyana program of the World Premier League, if that is where we're going to go, we should do it fast, because it's a big idea. And the same way we led the world in Test cricket, if we get this done, from a business standpoint, this business potential of a World Premier League, let us not wait for another Lalit Modi to take it from us, and then we say, no, we could do that. Sir Clive Lloyd mentioned being at the top of the world, captain of the West Indies team, the best players in the world, out there for 15 years. And then we discovered after that there was a tremendous potential for our leaders to have capitalized on that. But he told us today at lunch that Kerry Packer told him that we didn't know our real value. Let it not be said that in the 21st century, after all that we've been through, success and disappointment, that we still don't know our real value. And it didn't only happen to us in cricket, it happened to us in other areas where we didn't have the confidence to stand out front or to claim big ownership where we had the opportunity to do that. So we have to be prepared to treat with that issue of the World Premier League. And of course, that involves the question of who benefits and what accidental arrangement are we hoping to happen. If we do all the things that we want to do, create this whole mass of players who go off and play in the 16 leagues around the world, but we have no contractual arrangement with them, so that as they take advantage of the opportunities to earn, they do not cut their navel string with those who invested in them. How do you deal with that? We can only deal with that by understanding and having in place subsisting contractual arrangements that start early. And thinking aloud here is allowing me to say to you, we may have, as we invest the kinds of monies that the governments and the region will have to invest in our young players, we'll have to put contractual arrangements in place to support them in their development. But as they proceed upwards in the earning ladder, those contractual arrangements have to remain in place, so that when they become millionaires, they don't kick the ladder away from the grounding of the ladder, which is still in the community where young players are raised. So, yes, support from primary school, or from the cradle, we want to say, all the way up, support, because that's what all this is about, support. But we have to evolve a contracting arrangement that allows a connection between the developed player and those who invest in the development. Because without that, somewhere along the line, the link would be broken, the generation of lucky players will disappear, and if you don't come through West Indies cricket Where you passing to go to IPL or CPL or Big Bash? Where you passing to go there? And that's an issue that we have to confront now. You only get noticed to go there because you are in West Indies cricket. And if you are in West Indies cricket being supported by the resources of the taxpayers and the communities in the West Indies, you can't tell me that you must not be connected once you make it to the top. That is when you need to be connected. And that is one of the biggest issues that CARICOM will put to Cricket West Indies and to the players at all levels. Because most players don't end up at the top of the pyramid. Very many would be in the middle, and most would be playing for the love of the game. But Brian Lara didn't play with 11 Brian Laras from age 7. Brian Lara didn't play with 11 Brian Laras at Queen's Park or representing Trinidad and Tobago. He played with a lot of players who just played for the love of the game, or who were good enough to bowl a few off breaks, or good enough to bowl a few 6 overs and then they go on. They didn't become international stars. But he needed them as part of his development. And most importantly, you could be as good as you want. Somebody said, I think it was West, who said he put 22 players outside there, greatest in the world, and nobody taking them on. What's the benefit of that? The fans, the fan base. I didn't know Brian Lara in school, but a friend of mine came home by me one Saturday morning and said, come, let's go up the road. Fatima have a boy there, stroking some good ball. You had to see him play. I said, I gone? And I became a Brian Lara fanatic. That's how fans are developed. And without the fans, you could be as good as you want, right? You're not going to get anywhere. So the fan base is important, but the successful players must have a nexus to those who made them successful. And that can only be done through proper contractual arrangements. You look at football in the UK, basketball in America, you don't go and just become an NBA star. You're going to college, there are arrangements in place, legal arrangements in place. Nobody can come and hire you in college and put you into a team. All of these things have been taught out already by other people. We don't have to invent any wheel, but we have to understand them and see what we can glean from that and devise our own structure. That is what this meeting is about, you know. We've now put all the linen outside on all the lines. Dirty sheet, dirty pillowcase, it's all outside. The question now is how are we going to wash them? Because we had a lot of grievances throughout the region. They were encapsulated in this conference. To move on now, we have to say, we know this, we know that, we know this, we know that. There's only one way to treat with dirty linen, is to wash them and dry them. And I think that's where we are now. The whole question of getting our pre-professional players to play more of the game. The area where that can be done using existing organization is in the secondary schools. Across the region, we have a good secondary school structure. I will encourage my colleagues across the region to invest some money and some of this development potential in the secondary school. Again, we're not inventing any wheel here. West Hall, before he was Sir West Hall, came to Trinidad and Tobago and ran and got his name attached to something called the West Hall League. For me, that was one of the most exciting times. I wasn't here when Rupert Tantroon and Derek Seeley played cricket in Trinidad and Tobago, but I read about them. I wasn't fortunate, but I was here when the West Hall League was operating. Great weekend cricket, and it produced a lot of international standard players. We can use the secondary school system in a similar fashion and infuse into it some intra-territorial competition. Give them purpose to participate. Give them opportunity to occupy the wicket, to see the rest of the Caribbean before they are grown men. But it costs money. That is good money, if we spend money on that. And if we do that, every one of these legends who we have could take responsibility or be given responsibility to assist a program like that, if only for a specific period. And somebody talk about the Caribbean Development Bank. Well, the bank spends money on schools and hospitals and bridges and training. Those people who support us, like the Caribbean Development Bank, will do well to see good returns from supporting the governments in spending what would be small money on a program like that, saving the next generation and creating excitement with a potential where out of it may come 5, 6, 7, or 8 stars, and maybe a handful of legends to be. And that's what it is. You put 1,000 players out there, 100 of them might become household names, 10 of them might become of international standard, and 2 of them might become Brian Lara or Clive Lloyd. That's how the investment goes. But the people who they impact are in the 10,000s. Haley Matthews wasn't known to us or to young girls in the region, but she's already a household name for girls across the region. And everything I've said here applies to every young girl as it applies to every young boy. And it will assist in another area of great deficiency in the region. There is a deficiency in parenting in our region. And that has shown up in a number of ill-prepared youngsters who end up sometimes in front of the court or just on street violence. Cricket programs can assist in parenting, especially if it carries with it a discernible amount of mentoring. And unhidden talents can be unearthed by programs of that nature. So these are the kinds of things that the CARICOM leaders will deal with. How much do we invest in programs of that nature? Because I don't think it would take much to convince my colleagues that this is an area of priority spending that we must now treat with some fierce urgency. We talked about our women getting into Test cricket as quickly as possible. That, I'm sure, would find the fullest support at CARICOM. Under the heading of the business of cricket, if we accept that cricket management and operations today is a business, then we have to put a clarion call out to our corporate citizens of the region and outside the region to play a significant role. And for us, that is not new. We've had big sponsors before. We used to have the Shell Shield. In fact, Shell Shield was the heyday of cricket for quite some time. Shell Shield matches used to fill the Oval. And one of the best days of my cricketing life is when we beat Barbados in Queen's Park Oval, and a man walked out with a placard, "Cockroach and Fred foul again." Oval full. But now you can't get 100 people inside there. But the enthusiasm is not dead if the product is attractive. So we'll go back to the sponsors. The government has a persuasive power with some of the sponsors. We must use it. Somebody said that cricket in the region is on life support. I think it was Enoch said that. That's a good way to put it. When you're on life support, you have 2 options. Get good care or call the undertaker. Those are the 2 options. This conference is about trying to get good care. And if it fails, you have 1 option, is to call the undertaker. So, it was also said that we need to acknowledge that the foundation is there, but it requires some repairs. And once the foundation is sound, the superstructure will follow. That's another area where the governments can be encouraged to invest in the foundation, but we're not going to leave the superstructure to the wiles of the weather. As of this conference, as of this evening, it can be said that cricket in CARICOM is a priority. Governing is about establishing priorities. We have limited resources, limited financial resources, sometimes limited human resources. But when you establish the priorities, then you allocate accordingly. And having established cricket as a priority, I speak for my colleagues, it would follow that there would be improved allocation. I thank you for your attention. I thank you for paying attention to what was said here. I thank you for coming and look forward to me calling you again because there would be significant follow-ups. Thank you all very much. We have at 6 o'clock, we're expecting you all at the Diplomatic Center for our social gathering. So when you wind up from here, try and get yourself up to the Dip Center at 6 o'clock, and we have another hour or two of there, and we end up there later. See you all at the Dip Center later. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to the Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. the Honorable Keith Rowley, and Chair of the CARICOM Subcommittee, Prime Minister's Subcommittee for Cricket. Ladies and gentlemen, as we prepare to bring the proceedings to a close, we're near the end, just a couple more minutes. Permit me to extend a thanks and appreciation and ask for your acknowledgement of the team from Cricket West Indies that would have contributed to the success of the two-day meeting, of the team from CARICOM that would have contributed to the success of the two-day meeting, and of the team from the government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago that would have contributed to the success of the two-day meeting. There are many moving parts in activities such as these, and it is an example of the opportunities of collaboration, teamwork, sportsmanship in more ways than one that have resulted in us having a successful two-day engagement. Thanks again to the team at the Hyatt Regency Trinidad for facilitating all. I'd like to bid a very fond thank you and adieu to all our viewers and participants on the respective media platforms. Thank you for being with us, and we wish you an onward successful weekend and continue to support West Indies cricket. And as we close in this room, now that we've sent our social media folks away, ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to let you know that there's a gentleman by the name of Mr. Johnny Grave, who happens to be the CEO of Cricket West Indies, and it seems that around this time he is celebrating his birthday. So happy birthday to you, Johnny. And just for the record, let it not be said that the governments of the Caribbean didn't give you a good gift for 2024. You now have a memorable birthday gift from so many leaders of the Caribbean. Congratulations to you. And as we close, thank you one and all for your time, your talent, and your passion for West Indies cricket.
These developments